Welcome to Scare Talk, a horror movie podcast for horror film reviews, ratings, rankings, and rumors. Now for your hosts, Danny, Joel, and Katrina.
All right. This is Scare Talk. I am Danny, and I'm here with Kooky Katrina.
Oh, I am Kooky.
And we are here for a very different episode. We've never done something like this. Me and Katrina went to our first film festival.
Yeah,
It was a
horror film festival.
Yeah, horror film festival in Sacramento. It's the Sacramento Horror Film Festival and the Love Horror Short Film Festival.
Yes.
And they were all short films for both. So we got to watch a ton of short films, and we wanted to go through them and talk about each one briefly and give a rating for each one. We're going to do just a 0 to 10 rating. We're not going to do a percentage like we usually do because it's short films. So we figured we'd do a short
rating.
And so these are the shirts.
Yeah.
That we got. It was really cool too. So if you're in Sacramento or the surrounding areas, or even if you're not and you want to travel to Sacramento, I definitely recommend doing it next year. We're going to be there next year for sure. It was a lot of fun. It's like a full day event, and it's just film after film after film. So you're just in the theater, and it's like, you know, some of them are really short. Some of them are up to like a half hour. And it just depends.
Yeah.
So let's start with this. What were you expecting for this to be like?
Well, one thing that was surprising to me was I was expecting, once we got like the schedule, then I wasn't expecting as much, but I was thinking that there would be some full length films, or at least like half length. I don't know.
Longer than.
Yeah, I think the longest one we did get was little less than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But I had no clue what to expect.
Yeah.
Because I'd never been to a film festival, never really, it's so funny because I picture a festival and I picture outside, because we've gone to lots of music festivals. And so I picture like outside and like all
a
these
festival too.
Well, yeah. But like booths set up and like this big area, big space and everything. And then, but I knew it was at a theater. And I didn't think in my head of like, oh, okay, so this is all going to be in this one theater room. You know, I even still thought like, okay, well, maybe there will be different screens. And I don't know. I wasn't sure what to expect. So,
and you know, it's a smaller, film festival for, it's more of just a one screen theater.
Yeah.
But there are bigger film festivals where it's like there are multiple screens and you have to pick and choose what you're going to watch. And
yeah, because this one, it was only horror.
Yeah.
And so it's like a more niche type festival.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't sure what to expect from the films. Like,
that was what I was wondering about. Like, I like you, I was thinking there was going to be some full length movies. And then when we heard it was just short films, then I was like, well, short films can be very bad. It can be very low quality.
Yeah.
Like YouTube, get a little, film it on your phone kind of movie.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I hope it's not going to be stuff like that. And none of them were like that.
No, they were all I was really impressed.
Yeah. Me too.
By the quality of the movies that we got. And I was really impressed by the, like, the really level of like acting, filming, everything, you know, production and everything that went into it. I feel like they were they really chose the cream of the crop.
Yeah, well, and it was from all over the world too. So there were some foreign films.
And even the foreign films, like I kept up with it. I was okay with it. I think there was, I mean, there was one point where we were like, oh, we need to move up. Yeah. Because I couldn't read that.
Yeah, I couldn't either.
I do not have good eyesight, which is part of why I don't like subtitles. But yeah, so we had to move up, and we ended up moving up to the second row.
Yeah.
And then we were able to see it just fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They were all high quality as far as acting and production value, camera work, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I was really happy about that. There was, varying degrees of enjoyment for each movie.
Yeah.
For each of us, I'm sure. But something that was really cool. Well, at first it kind of threw me off. After every film, everybody clapped.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it kind of threw me off. I was like, oh, okay. I'm supposed to clap, I guess.
Well, and I think part of that is a lot of the filmmakers were there.
Yeah.
And so it's like you're clapping for them and letting them know that was cool, you know?
Yeah. And, but I will say the crowd was fun to watch it like these style of movies with.
Yeah.
If there was like some gross out scene or some like crazy kill or something, like I want to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And the crowd was laughing.
Yeah.
So I felt like okay with laughing.
It was definitely our crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, people were like shocked by a couple of the movies and like they were like displaying it,
Mm-hmm.
It was different than just seeing like a movie in a, public theater or whatever.
Well, and, I think of when we went and saw like the FNAF movie and you could tell who was there that were like, who the movie was made for because they're all like, oh my gosh, and laughing and everything. And the rest of the theater isn't really getting it and not really knowing why this is such a freak out moment. And we got to watch these in a theater full of the people who the movies were made for.
Right.
And so, it was definitely fun. And that was my favorite thing was like, there was one part where, something crazy happened that you would not typically laugh at in a theater. And I like laughed out loud and, my laugh is like, ha, and I was not the only one. And I was like, cool. I remember the first time seeing like Sleepy Hollow and like the people getting their heads chopped off. And I was like cracking up in the theater. And it was like, people felt awkward, like with me like laughing at this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. So we're gonna go through each one, talk about it briefly. So I looked some of these up to see if you could like find them on YouTube or something.
Okay.
And not, at least the ones that I looked up, you're not gonna be able to find them.
Okay.
So I don't know how you'll be able to watch these eventually. I don't know. Maybe it'll be compiled, some of them, into like an anthology movie that might come out.
Well, and wasn't there a movie that just came out recently that sorry guys. I just realized I didn't put my ears in. Okay, wasn't there a movie recently that came out that was it was originally a short that was in one of these festivals? Okay.
Night Swim.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the thing is you never know.
Yeah.
What could come of these.
Made a full length.
Yeah.
Film. That would be really cool.
And we have seen that there's possibility that some of these, it's through the grapevine. We kind of heard that there's possibility of some of these movies being in other film festivals as well. Mm-hmm. And so, if you are planning on going to other film festivals, you might see some of these.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know.
And they're short films, so I'm just wondering how we want to like get into spoilers at all. I mean, they're not like long things that we can really talk about too many things, without, especially a couple of them like have really shocking endings.
Yeah, I think we can. I think this will just be a spoiler episode.
Yeah.
Like we're not gonna tiptoe around what we saw.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. I'm making the call.
Yeah. So if you like what you hear, definitely watch them. They're worth checking out to actually see how they play out on screen. So
yeah.
All right. So to start with, we missed the first two.
Yeah, that was the thing.
There a little late.
Yeah, that was the thing. I did like that they gave us little breaks in between two.
Yeah.
Like there were little intermission times. Yeah. Because you can't just sit for so long. That was one thing. My back hurts. Oh yeah, it was freezing. But my back hurts so bad.
Those chairs were
by the end of the day.
The most comfortable.
Yeah, and I heard other people saying like, at least there's nice chairs. I've been to other ones that there's like really bad chairs, and I'm like, these are nice. Like,
it's a really old theater. It's called the Colonial Theater. Mm-hmm. So it's been there since the colonial times.
Yeah, and then after the festival, we went straight to Founders Day. So we were really getting into the colonial founders.
Oh man. All right. So the first one that we watched, we missed the very beginning of it, but it's only 4 minutes long. So I don't know how much we actually missed.
Not much, because we saw it. I mean, maybe half of it we missed, but it was very easy to like tell what we missed.
Yeah. So it's called Repeat. Directed by Marlon Royal Reed.
Yeah, and he was there and talked about this movie after, and it was really cool to hear from him.
Yeah. So, trapped in a surreal time loop, a woman relives the moments of her memory after she has killed her neighbor. So this one was in black and white.
Yes.
Too, which was a cool aesthetic. It was like anxiety inducing, I would say, because it kind of put you in the character's shoes.
Yeah.
Of what are you going to do? Because she was like kind of thinking to herself, like her thoughts were like the narration of it.
That's what the movie was.
Yeah, it was all her thoughts.
Yeah, her thought process of, okay,
like, how am I going to...
And talking herself through it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're going to do
this. And you need to do this, you need to do that, and she's like looking at herself in the mirror and freaking out, and like it was pretty like stressful.
It was a cool thing to walk into. I feel like it was like, oh, okay, here we are.
Yeah, we didn't know what we were walking into, and then it was that. So, and it was short, it was only 4 minutes, so but like got its point across. What it was trying to do, it definitely did.
I think this is one of those movies that it's like, wow, you can do so much in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
This crazy one, I mean, it stuck with me.
Yeah.
I've thought about this, and I'm like, that would be so cool to like see this go somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
And it really did get everything across, and hearing him talk about it, and him saying like what he was trying to get across, and it was like, you did good. Like I think it was really amazing, especially for the length of the movie.
Okay, so out of 10.
Okay, so here is the only thing. I think I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10
Okay.
And I think what boosts it up is like it would have gotten a 7.5, but hearing him talk about it really helped boost it up all the way to an 8.
Okay.
Like it was really cool hearing from him and hearing his background of why he did it, and you know, how much it aligned, and taking into consideration the length, because I think that's something I want to take into consideration is like, if it's a 15-minute film and it's like, oh, they got so much across, and then in a 5-minute film, we're saying the same thing, like, wow, that's even more skillful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. You could look at it that way.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, it's hard to rate a short film. And there were other ones in this festival that I did like more. So I want to leave some room.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to go 7 on this one.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to go 7.
Okay.
I do think it could be a full-length movie, though. Because imagine how much work you would have to go into with trying to cover up a murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it could be an entire movie of that, like the murder itself and all the thoughts and like all the different like obstacles.
And how it spirals, because that was something that it showed at the end, was then because of the commotion that was being made, someone else came to the door and then it was repeat.
Yeah.
You know what you have to do.
Right.
Is what she said to herself. And it was like, oh man, here we go. And so it was like, yeah, you can see how it can just spiral and everything.
Be a very psychological movie.
Yeah.
If it were to be full length.
Yeah. I did think about like, would it get as much feeling being a full length movie, or would you lose some of that?
Yeah. I think it could have scenes. Like the whole movie could be like that, but that would be like too much.
That would be intense.
Yeah. So it would have to be like certain scenes where the narration increases and gets
almost
more stressful
almost like a color like a movie in color, and then it gets black and white when it goes into that or something. Scenes, it kind of makes me think of like Psycho almost, like you could add that into like the Bates Motel kind of feel.
If you have it like in a motel setting, like a creepy setting, a dark
and this setting was like a creepy apartment complex. So yeah.
I mean, we talked about that movie for a lot longer than the length of the movie.
I know.
So next one is Hazard Lights. This is directed by Takna Dan. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Probably not.
Let me see.
A man drives down a pitch black road at night, relying solely on the intermittent flashes of his hazard lights due to car trouble. Suddenly, what appears to be a human body laying on the road emerges in front of him, and he runs it over.
Oh. I didn't remember that he ran over a body, but okay, so that's interesting that it like gave the entire movie in the description.
Pretty much the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it took you just as long to read it as it is that the movie was.
It's 4 minutes. 4 minutes and 41 seconds. So just a little bit longer than the last one.
Which is interesting because it almost seemed shorter than the other one. Definitely less going on than the other one. This one
had no dialogue, I'm pretty sure. I don't think there was any talking in this movie at all.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because it was just one character.
Because it was just him. He looked at his phone at one point. There was a phone call coming in. I think he might have said something to himself.
Yeah, maybe.
But this one, I felt like the story wasn't that original. And the thing is if you blinked or looked down and pulled some popcorn, that's what I think, you missed it.
Yeah, you missed the cool part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but even with that, it was like, okay, a jump scare, you know?
Yeah. It was a jump scare, but not like in the sense of like a boom or
yeah.
It was what you saw.
Yeah.
It didn't really emphasize it with sound or anything.
Yeah.
What this movie brought was the use of the flashing light of the hazard lights and the position of the camera. And when the lights flash, what you see, and then when it goes away, and then it flashes, and then it gets closer and closer and closer, and then it's sitting. Whoa. And then it's sitting in the car with him.
Yeah.
Right at the end. So that was cool. It was like a 30-second part of the 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Everybody has been in a position with car trouble. That's like my worst fear. I have dreams about car trouble, and this guy's like just trying to get where he's going, and his car's going to break down any second.
Yeah.
So that's already kind of scary to me. And then you add in this spirit or ghost or demon or whatever it was. So I thought it was cool. I like the very end of it. It just cuts off right there.
Yeah.
I don't know that you could really make this a full-length movie. This is kind of more of just a short little scene, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, the full-length movie would be like, why is he on the road?
Yeah.
And so like where he came from and who the person is that's calling and how to get to that point. And I mean, I guess he hit someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, he hit something, and that's why he pulled off.
Why he pulled off. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe
I'm guessing
it's the ghost of who he hit.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that ghost came quick. Like they must have died pretty instantly. But yeah, so what'd you rate it?
I'll give this one a 6.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a little less original than the first one. But it wasn't bad at all. So I'll give it a 6. Yeah.
Okay. I gave it a 5.
You missed the cool part, so.
Yeah, well. But and I almost was thinking of like a 4, but I'm like, I feel like putting yourself out there and doing these movies, I don't want to give you less than a 5. Like that's you did great.
Yeah. Well, it was good quality. It wasn't, it wasn't like cheaply done or anything.
Yeah. And you did get the feel of him like stressing out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 5.
All right. Okay. Next one.
Silhouette.
One of my favorites. The Silhouette. It's 13 minutes and 6 seconds, and it was directed by Aldrich Werner. The synopsis. Mila is just your average college student studying abroad for the semester in a beautiful new country. But little does she know, her trip is about to take a terrifying turn. Haunted by a traumatic experience from her past, Mila struggles to cope with the psychological aftermath. But her handsome boyfriend is there to support her, even as he battles his own demons. I didn't remember him battling his own demons. Do you remember that?
I mean, I thought his demons was his. Well, I thought his demons was him having a secret from her. I don't know. I had a hard time understanding exactly what was going on.
This one is a little jumbled, I think.
Yeah, it's jumbled. It was kind of like you had to really get the little references. I don't, not references, but like nuances, I guess. I don't know. It was hard to connect it all together. I didn't feel that it made it it did a super great job of like really helping us understand what was going on.
Yeah.
It just seemed confusing, and I felt like it was like do they have a clear idea of where they're going with this or what's going on with this? And I feel like this one definitely felt like, okay, they had an idea for a full movie and then they tried to make it into a short film.
Yeah.
And they weren't able to get all their ideas across.
Yeah, it was like they had a full movie and then they took pieces of it.
Yeah.
And put it into a short.
Yeah. And I almost wondered if it's like, were you like wanting to just be able to submit this wherever you can, and so you created it into a small or a short film so that you could submit it to more places, you know?
Yeah, maybe. I will say that this is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I know.
I thought so. What this movie is there's a stalker who's stalking her. At one point it's a dream sequence, and then at another point it's within reality. So the traumatic experience she had was this person stalking her, trying to kill her, and then it happens again in real life. So, but the scene by scene like transitions and connection as to for the audience to know where she's at, what she's doing, like why is she there? At one point she's in a library, and then the next scene she's like somewhere else, and it's like, is this all the same night? Is this, it was a little weird with like the settings and the time. Like, when is this occurring? And why is she where she's at? So a little more explanation in there would have been nice. But what I really liked was the atmosphere and the music. The score for this was very Halloween-like.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a ripoff, though. It was unique, but had like that John Carpenter feel.
Yeah.
And it even said like special thanks to John Carpenter.
Yes.
at the end. And like a Michael Myers kind of killer. Stalker, killer who doesn't run, just walks, just has the one weapon. There's a reveal at the end that I thought was not necessary. And I think what it was trying to say was the killer was her father.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's where I feel like maybe it was necessary. Because if that's what it was trying to say, then that's a part of it. And that's where I feel like I feel like they didn't give themselves enough time.
Yeah.
You
got to build up to that.
Yeah.
Or like have like this guy was not even mentioned at all. Well, and then you see the picture and it's like, oh,
I feel like he was mentioned.
Was he?
Like, especially at the very beginning, her boyfriend said something.
With her dream. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then her boyfriend right away was like, why haven't you told me about this? Yeah. And it's like, you don't even know what her dream was about. So why do you think this would be something she should have told you about?
Or how do you know you don't already know about it?
Yeah.
You might know about it. She hasn't said anything about what it was.
Yeah. So yeah.
I just like the atmosphere, and that can really help me forgive the other things, because I get really into a movie with that kind of atmosphere. So for this one, I'm going to rate it a 7.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was longer than the other ones. This one was 13 minutes.
Yeah. And I'm giving this one actually a 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
After this one is when we moved up.
Yes.
Because the next one that we'll talk about was a foreign film.
Yes.
And it is called The Weaver. Directed by Oyend Williamson. So this one's 13 minutes as well. Mm-hmm. A nurse goes to visit an old lady at her home. He soon realizes she has a few screws loose And maybe she is not an old lady at all.
Oh, man. I like the description of this because it doesn't tell us the entire movie.
Yeah, that last one, the silhouette, that was like a full paragraph.
Yeah, and the one before that, the hazard lights, it was like
the whole movie.
The whole movie, yeah.
So this one was a foreign film. I don't remember what country it's from.
I don't know that I could tell. I feel like it was like almost like a Dutch type.
Maybe? Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe Dutch, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't
definitely a language that I didn't know for sure what it was.
Yeah.
But some kind of Eastern European type thing or something. I don't know.
But this one was all about the dialogue, actually, and which is interesting because it's all subtitled and it was really enjoyable for you. So he's sitting at the kitchen table with this lady, and the stuff she's saying is just really inappropriate and kind of funny, but like awkwardly funny.
It was like, whoa, I don't know how to feel about this. And like,
especially because she's this old lady saying these things.
And his reaction of like, he's trying so hard to be like understanding and caring and like, oh, this poor like old lady. I mean, he's there as a caregiver.
Yeah.
And so it's his first day as a caregiver.
Day. Yeah.
And so he's like, oh wow, like she's really struggling, and she's kind of like lost her mind of and like if you deal with like older, elderly that are going through dementia or going through, kind of a cognitive decline.
Yeah.
They don't really know like who they're talking to or
what's exactly
to
what say.
And not that it's common to talk to someone that's like going as out there as she did, because she's making like sexual innuendos and whatever at
some
him.
Not even innuendos, just straight up like what it is.
Very blunt. But he's trying to be very understanding that okay, she's and it was sweet, it was endearing how he was really invested in being there for her.
It made it more funny too. How she was saying these things, and it would like show his face, and he's like and he would just say like what, or like something like okay, let's move on from that topic.
Are we gonna get tea?
I don't need to continue to engage with this topic.
Yeah, and then the creepiness of like there were spiders walking all around and stuff. It's called Cobweb.
It's called Weaver.
Oh, it's called Weaver. I was thinking it should be called Cobweb. Yeah.
But like weaving the web,
Yeah.
But she kept talking about her children.
Yes.
And how she wanted to have more children.
She wanted to have more children. She wanted to have them with him. And like these spiders are like she's supposed to be getting him tea, and there's like this spider crawling in the
teacup
and then all throughout, there's like webs everywhere, and it's just like this like really creepy feel
like creepy crawly
of this house.
Yeah.
And I'm not scared of spiders, so it didn't like make me super cringe, but I was thinking like, oh man, for people who really have a spider phobia, this is gonna like really get you.
It was a little, I was a little squirmy with it. She was like gross to the way that they would like show her mouth when she's like eating stuff. And it was like her was she like sneezing or
I was gonna say, didn't she at one point have like everywhere. Stuff coming out and like did she at one point like lose her bowels and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Like it was
like a gross out.
It was definitely like
funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Like think of like the old woman on It.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that scene is very much kind of like that scene, but better.
But better. Much better because and it was longer and more focused on just that.
Yeah, the conversation with
them. Yeah. And it was crazy. No nudity. It didn't show her getting all crazy. But then she ends up turning.
Yeah.
And so then she does transform into a spider.
Yeah.
And her babies. Yeah. And her babies are all those spiders that have been crawling around.
Yeah. The transformation scene was actually pretty well done.
Really. Yeah.
It was pretty, I think it was all practical effects. I don't think there was any like computer generated stuff going on. They didn't show the spider like full on. It was just kind of little glimpses and in the background and on the wall or whatever.
Yeah.
But like her arm like ripped off when she was transforming and like the skin at least. I was like, okay, this is gonna get stupid, but then I was like, oh wow, they're doing pretty good with this.
Yeah, I thought they did really good, and then she ends up killing him, and like consuming him or something.
I don't know. His picture ended up on the wall.
But then that's the thing. So when he first walked in, he saw all the pictures of all these people on the wall. And she had said, like, oh, I have so many kids with different men.
Yeah.
And so then he ends up on the wall. And it's like, we don't know if, like, because it seemed like she, like, not consumed him, but, like, almost like she was going to turn him into a spider as well. So it was
and then the next nurse comes,
shocking ending, and then the next nurse comes. Yeah. So this really held it. A lot went into this film, and it was all subtitled, but it didn't go too fast. There were a few times that I'm like, oh, I didn't catch all that. But I got it. Like I kept in with the movie. I was really intrigued and really into it. Really enjoyed it.
Being in a theater helps, because it's big right there. It's easier to read.
Yeah.
I think that
we definitely had to move up because at the very beginning it was like, oh, I'm not gonna get any of this.
Nothing. Yeah.
And so we had to move up to be able to see it. But I think the other part was like they didn't rush the subtitles. Like they weren't talking super fast.
Right.
So that's part of it too.
All right. What are we going to rate it?
And they didn't say a whole lot all at one time. I give this one a 7.5.
All right. I'm going. I feel like this is one of the more memorable ones for me. I'm going to go 8.5.
Okay.
On this one.
Yeah. Okay.
When, it's been a couple weeks since we went to this, and this is one that has stuck with me.
Yeah. I know I almost raised my score higher, especially after raising Repeat. Yeah. But yeah, I'll stick with my 7.5. But yeah, it was very, very good.
All right, next we got The Reclaimers. This one is about 20 minutes. Directed by Jason Sheedy. After her grandparents are killed. Oh, why are we giving that away in the description? I'll just read it.
It's at the very beginning of the movie.
But we don't know that they're killed by invisible creatures.
Oh, it says... Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
After her grandparents are killed by invisible creatures, a determined young woman seeks to avenge them with the help of her canine companion, the only one who can see the mysterious invaders.
I'm glad we didn't read the descriptions ahead of time.
Yeah. Yeah, they were there. We could have. So yeah, you don't really know if you just watch this without knowing the description. You don't know that the grandparents were killed by these creatures.
Yeah,
you don't even know that there are creatures until
not until
a while into the movie.
Yeah, well into the movie. And you know that her grandparents are not alive.
Yeah.
You know that it seems as if they were killed because on the message, it's all in distress and everything. Right. Because at the very beginning of the movie, it starts with her listening to this message from her grandma while the whatever was happening.
Yeah.
And you pretty much hear them get attacked at the end of that message.
Right, but
you don't know why.
When you first hear it, it's a little, it's not confusing, but you could take it in different ways. Mm-hmm. So it's like the grandma is talking about, oh, your grandpa's got his gun, and it's like, is grandpa just going crazy on the family?
Well, that's the thing, is you don't know if grandpa lost it.
Yeah.
You don't know if grandpa was defending himself against someone that was intruding.
Yeah.
You don't know if, you don't really know any of it.
Right.
Of like what even happened to them.
Right. And at the very end of the message, I did notice that there was like some sort of monster sound, but it was very quick and very short. And so you could miss that or interpret that differently than a creature killing them.
Well, yeah, because you didn't know if that was like a car, squealing out or something, or another, like, just an animal in the background. Yeah. You didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, so glad we didn't read
Definitely didn't know that there were invisible creatures until well into the movie.
Yeah. So we do see this. So we follow this woman and her dog, and we do see that she has like a flask with her, which she drinks from time to time throughout the runtime.
Yeah.
She is like planning something. We see that she's putting together some sort of trap and some sort of she's getting her dog food ready, and she's packing up and she's going somewhere. And she goes to what we assume is her grandparents' home. And as we see her walk through it and look at stuff, then we do realize, okay, this is her grandparents' home.
Yeah.
There's no dialogue other than the voice message in the movie. So you're just kind of learning as it goes what happened. And then the invisible creatures start coming.
Well, before the invisible creature comes, they see like this portal.
The portal, yeah.
And that's the one part of the movie that really threw me and was like, that wasn't good. I didn't like the effects of the portal, which was like, what, CGI?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It looked very fake.
Yeah, very, very. It was definitely like a digital, like like it reminded me of like, in high school you do these like projects and stuff, and like you have to do like a digital design or whatever, and like it reminded me of something you would do on
cheap,
like a PowerPoint or something.
Yeah, it really didn't fit because the movie was very high quality filming, and everything, like the camera work and stuff looked very professional, and then
and that. Even like, the what? Effects of the invisible monsters and everything, and how the dog gets thrown around by it, and like all of that.
Right. Yeah, it was all very well done.
So it was like, why did they throw these portals in there?
Yeah.
Because I feel like they could have kept, because before the portal showed up, you could tell that the dog was reacting to something, and she was like in shock of it and whatever. So you could have just shown like the area and not shown anything, or
yeah, because we were seeing from the dog's point of view at that point.
Yeah,
because only the dog could see it. Yeah, so it wasn't necessary to show. But I guess we wouldn't know that it was a portal, though.
Yeah. I think that you could have done, I don't know, something where instead of like, because it was like this glowing thing.
Yeah, it could have looked better.
They could have done like just like it fogged
like
out or something.
Yeah, just like a blur filter or something.
Yeah, something that was like just very subtle.
Yeah.
And so then you
I mean, come on, Zoom
develop
even
it
has blur.
Yeah.
Blur to the background,
Yeah,
you know. So yeah, I think that's probably my negative with it. But I thought the invisible creatures were cool. I thought the way the movie flowed was very well done. You're putting the pieces together as to what happened to the grandparents, and only the dog can see these things. Oh, this is how she's putting this trap together to be able to defeat them. And so there was like, and you have to be quiet, right? So it's like it
was like
quiet
a quiet place. Yeah. And I kept thinking like, why the heck is she like so focused on getting this like white powder all over the ground and stuff? And I'm like, what is this stuff? And
that reminded me of the Invisible Man.
Yeah, but at that point you didn't know that there were these invisible creatures because the dog's up there freaking out and she's like, I gotta get this on the ground before I go check what the dog's doing. And I'm like, why is this so important? Go check on your dog. Like he's clearly sees someone up there. And then she goes up there and she's like doesn't know what, and then like pulling out her thing.
She's got these,
and she has to have like a gas mask on it when she pulls it and throws it.
So we were able to put it all together. Which I thought it was really.
How long was this one?
I think it's 20 minutes.
Okay,
it was 1959. So 20 minutes.
So
but yeah, the effects were really cool with the invisible creatures, how they were able to do that with the dog flying around and her getting pulled, and you don't actually see what's happening there. I always think that's pretty cool. Like, really how do they do that?
I know. The way that they were able to do that was really cool. The part that stood out to me the most and that I really enjoyed and what made my score go up much higher was the fact that there was that correlation between her having this alcohol problem, having a substance issue, addiction to alcohol, and her grandma references it in the first phone call. Her grandma references that there was conflict, and then in the last phone call, that because she listens to another voicemail, and talks about how it's been going on in the family. Like it sounds like this is a generational addiction that has been a struggle for her and her mom, and and then I feel like there was the relation between addiction being this like invisible disease that she's living with, and then she's fighting her invisible monsters. And I feel like it was like this was her fighting off this invisible monster, and she, after defeating them, she throws her flask down and like I don't remember if she throws it down or she like just closes it and decides not to have another drink.
She continues drinking, and then they get outside, and then they realize that the monsters are still around.
Okay, there was something that I remember.
The sky, and there's a portal.
Okay,
so they didn't. That's another portal that they have to clear.
But I feel like there was some point where after she listens to that message.
I know she drinks during that scene. Maybe she puts it down. I don't remember.
Okay. I don't remember either, but I remember just taking note of like, oh, wow. So this is, I felt like they made that connection between the invisible disease of addiction.
Yeah.
And the invisible monsters.
Right.
And the battle that she's fighting.
Well, and you had mentioned about the dog being able to see.
Oh,
monsters.
yeah. So that was the other thing is like, she's not able to see this disease and everything, but then your loved ones are the ones that are able to see how much it's attacking you.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I just felt like after watching that, I just talked to Danny for a long time about like, oh, did you get all that connection and everything? And
yeah, it's really cool when especially horror films can do that. I love that kind of stuff. And this was only 20 minutes.
Only 20 minutes.
Definitely could be a full-length movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah.
I definitely like when there is that psychological part to it. Yeah. I think that's what I loved about Repeat. That's what I'm loving about this one.
All right, so let's rate it.
Yeah, I gave this one an 8.5.
Okay.
It was close to an 8 because of the portals.
Yeah.
But I gave it the 0.5 because
I'll go with you on that one. 8.5. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go with an 8.5. Now the next one.
The next one is the last one of this segment.
Yeah.
And then we go to the
All right, so Family Night. This one's directed by Alan Dunn. An offbeat short horror film set in the winter of 1995. A pre-divorce era Dublin, Ireland. It tells the story of a family forced to take part in a family night by their extremely strict father. Throughout the night, tension builds as they are forced to have dinner together, sing songs, play charades, and watch a movie, all while trying to keep their father, Eoin Quinn, pleased. However, not all is as it seems in the household.
Okay.
So, this one was kind of nerve-wracking.
Oh yeah, like
with the
it was eerie from the very beginning.
The atmosphere was very thick.
Yeah, and you could tell
uncomfortable.
Mom was uncomfortable right at the beginning, like paranoid and like on edge right from the beginning before Dad even gets home. And then when he gets home, it's like, okay, we need to make sure we're acting right and being perfect and like, and so the first, throughout the film, you're like thinking, or at least I was like feeling like, okay, this seems like he's like an abusive dad.
Yeah.
And
but it was kind of funny because he was like really wanting to have this family night.
Yeah. Family night was so important to him.
Don't answer the phone. Don't answer the door. Like, we're not interrupting family night.
Yeah. But
like nobody is having fun.
But the thing is he, especially with like when the little boy was like not wanting to say much, like he was like, how was your day at school? And he's like, it was fine. And he was like, I spent all day working to come home to this, like you guys aren't even appreciating.
And short like responses, one word responses.
Yeah. And so you're like, oh man, okay, so like he really is like stressed about like having to work all the time, not having enough time for the family. Like it gives you that feeling like he's like, that's where all of his tension and anger and abusiveness is coming from, is like wanting to have more time with the family. So I'm
right. That's why he's like forcing this family night.
He's like forcing it so much, and he's not realizing how much his attitude is what's making this an uncomfortable family night.
Yeah.
But how often, I mean, not that we are like that. But how often as parents are we like, I just want to have a nice family night. Like I just want, especially like as our teenagers get older, it's like, man, I know sometimes I'm like family game night and they're like, and I'm like, come on, you guys used to love playing games with me. Like it's like, I feel like it's something that as parents we can relate to, like this. It's supposed to be family night. And like the daughter answers the phone. No phones at family night. And it's like, yeah. You can kind of like
well, and
feel
this is
it,
1995, so it's like a corded phone.
Yeah, it's like a corded phone. And she's like hiding in the thing. And the little boy's like, I have to go to the bathroom. And it's like, and then he's like, I'll take you. Like it's no big deal. But you can tell like he like looks at mom and is like, Mom, I have to go to the bathroom, and like all worried. And so it's like, man, what is going on?
I thought
in this
maybe he was
house?
like afraid of the dark or something.
I thought he was afraid to tell Dad that he needed a break.
He needed
like
a break from family night.
Yeah. And then Dad's like, I'll take you. And he's like, okay, like he's like all worried, and I'm like, man, what's happening in this family? Like, and then that's when the phone rings and the daughter answers, and he walks in, no phone, and then someone knocks on the door, and he's like, I'll take care of it or something, or he has her take care of it or something. But so then when it's a family night is done and it's time for bed, and he makes everyone take like sleeping pills to go to bed. And so it's like, wow, like he's drugging his kids to make sure they sleep good or what? Like,
well, and then he's checking if they're out.
Yeah,
he's like
checking to
make
sure,
around, shaking them, making sure they're not waking up.
Like he's really serious. Everything that he does, everything that, that he's getting across is like very serious. Family night is very serious. Dinner conversation, very serious. Even like when he takes the kid to the bathroom and he's like, well, my dad was very mean and like, and so he's like apologizing for yelling at him at the dinner table. And, but he takes everything to the umpteenth level of seriousness. And then the mom is like not wanting to swallow her pill. And then she's like hearing noises.
Well, at one point when she went to answer the door, we see the dad go into this other room. And I can't remember if we hear something in there. I think we might hear something. I feel like we
heard something.
And then he comes out and shuts the door, and it's like, okay, what's in that room?
And then he says, it's fine or something.
And
so you're like, what was that? Like, and so then at that point you're like, does he have like,
he's got some secret something going on
something and I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, does he have like some dungeon, and this is like where if you act out, if you like mess up too much at family night, you go in the dungeon and stuff. And I was thinking maybe he has like some of the other kids are there or something, and so then how does it end up getting to that end point?
I think the mom is trying to escape, and then she goes in there, and because they're like in a struggle. Like
what
fighting.
Ends up starting the fight where she tries to escape? The pill.
I can't remember how she escapes or how the fight begins. I just know she wasn't trying to take the pill.
Either. Okay.
But eventually she gets into that room, isn't there like she doesn't get into the room.
Or
I think he knocks her out or kills her.
Doesn't he try to do?
And he goes into the room.
Doesn't she do something to him first, like stab him in the back or something?
I don't know. There's definitely some violence going on at this part. And I was just like, okay, what's in that room? We're going to find out. And we do find out that it's the actual husband, father.
She does run into the room.
Was it her that ran
because that's what pulls him up, because he's like on.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's got something around his neck, and when she opens the door, it pulls him up. And
yeah. And so that was the thing, because when he went in there, he went in very sneakily and like carefully. And when she runs in to go in there, it pulls him up and hangs him.
Yeah.
And then he knocks her out as she does that.
Right.
And knocks her out. We don't know if she survived, because he just knocks her out and then leaves her in there.
Yeah. But yeah, we do learn that that's the actual husband and father, because it like shows a picture or something.
Yeah, it shows the picture
of the full family.
Yeah.
And I kind of called it when he went. I don't know if I said it out loud.
Yeah.
But when he went into that area, when she was at the door and then he came out, I was like, I wonder if the like actual father is in there.
Yeah.
And he's like got him held hostage, or whatever. He's got him tied up in there. And that's what it ended up being. And I thought that was a really cool twist. It made sense for why the kids were and the mom were so
weird,
worried about upsetting him.
Yeah, there was no connection between the kids and the dad.
Yeah.
Like, even in abused situations, there would be some kind of more connection of like it being their dad. But you didn't really notice that super strong until after you see that it's not their dad, and you're like, oh, that's why.
Right.
Because I didn't put it together.
Yeah.
I did think that there was someone in that room, but I didn't put it together that he wasn't the real dad.
Yeah.
I didn't think that it was made obvious.
No, I didn't think it was either. But then once I saw that it was like a, middle-aged guy, I was like, yeah, that's what it is. So yeah, that was one of my favorites. What do you rate it?
Definitely my favorite.
Okay.
That one I gave a 9 out of 10.
Okay, me too.
Yeah.
9 out of 10.
Yeah. So then, do we want to take a break here, because it's gonna take us a while to go through all of these?
Yeah.
Take a break here, and then we'll do another episode of the next shorts, which are going to be the love horror shorts. So the ones that we just did were the shorts that were selected by the Sacramento Horror Film Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the next shorts that we'll review will be the Love Horror Short Film Festival films.
Yep.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what we'll be doing.
Yep.
So
yeah.
Tune in for the next episode for the Love Horror.
Yep. Stay tuned for that one. So yeah, the Sacramento Horror Film Festival, we definitely enjoyed. We will be going back. And if you are one of the directors or promoters or whatever, contact us.
Yeah, definitely.
We'd love to get connected with you guys and,
interview.
See if we can help with next year and maybe do an interview with you guys, or, whatever. We'd love to connect with you guys. So anyways, that's it for this one.
This has been Scare Talk. Sleep tight. Oh, but you know what, Danny? I realized that we went through this whole episode and I am feeling thirsty. I know you've been kind of hydrating with your not so healthy hydration, but I realized we haven't really talked about the liquid IV that we usually are telling our fans about.
Yeah.
So what do you like about it?
Well, I like all the flavors.
Yeah.
And the hydration. I definitely feel a difference when having it like in the morning or midday when maybe you need like a little boost.
Yeah. Midday is like, well, so my time that I get so tired is like between 2 and 3. Or 3 and 4, depending on the day. But that late afternoon, I am like, oh man, how am I going to make it through the rest of these next couple hours of work or whatever? And if I have that, I definitely notice myself getting a boost. But I also notice, I think that what I've noticed the most is when I'm sick.
Yeah.
And I have that to be able to hydrate me.
And that's what you always hear, like, drink a lot of water when you're sick. You know?
Yeah.
And so you drink water, and then you add this to it, and then you're, fighting it off even faster.
It's even quicker, and it just keeps you feeling hydrated and feeling like, okay, I can sit up. I can, because sometimes you need, and sometimes you need to get some movement and get some, help the sickness move out of your body.
Yeah.
So that's helpful. We're not drinkers, so we don't get hangovers, but I imagine it would be the same with a hangover.
With
So,
So a lot of electrolytes, 3 times as much that you'll get in like a sports drink. So you'll want to check it out if you're an athlete too.
Yeah.
But so real people, real flavor, real hydrating. Get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use code ScareTalkCode at checkout. That's 20% off anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code ScareTalkCode at liquidiv.com.
All right. There we go. So I'll tell you, my favorite so far is the sugar-free, because I just don't like.
And that's a white peach.
Yeah, it's like a peach one.
Yeah,
which is really, and it's just more of a subtle flavor, and I really like that.
Yeah,
so.
I mean it's kind of weird because it's water and it's not colored. Yeah, so the powder is just white powder and it just dissolves.
Yeah.
But it tastes like you're drinking like a Gatorade or like a Powerade. Like it gives that full flavor. It's
got a lot of flavor.
Yeah. So it kind of throws me off sometimes when I drink it. Like, oh wait, how is this water? It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So anyways, look out for the next episode, Love Horror Short Film Festival.
All right, that's it.
Let's do it again.
Oh, we're doing it. Oh my gosh, we're doing it all over. Sleep tight. Wait. This has been Scare Talk. Sleep tight.
Don't let the Sacramento Horror Film Festival bite.
Ooh.